Welcome to Epic Media, your online source for interventional cardiology podcasts. Hope you like it.
The VERONICA trial. The guidelines of non-ST elevation ACS recommend 12 months of DAPT, although shorter programs may be preferred in case of high risk of bleeding. With the objective of a reduction of bleeding events, two different strategies are being followed. The first one is based on shortening the length of DAPT to 1 month, while the other one, named de-escalation, changes the prasugrel or ticagrelor for clopidogrel 1 month after discharge. The rationale of this approach is the higher risk of stent thrombosis in the weeks closer to stent implantation, while the risk of bleeding is maintained constant along the 12 months. Several RCT have been run to test different stents and regimes of DAPT of 1 month. De-escalation is fundamentally supported by the results of the TOPIC trial, where 635 patients with ACS with and without ST elevation who were discharged on ticagrelor or prasugrel were randomized to continue with these drugs, control arm, or de-escalate to clopidogrel, intervention arm. The primary endpoint of ischemia plus hemorrhage BARC, greater than or equal to 2, occurred in 26% of the control arm and 12.5% in the de-escalation arm. This reduction in events was at the expense of the difference in hemorrhage, since ischemic events were 10% in both arms. In a second manuscript of the TOPIC trial, the authors divided the patients according to the results of the VASP test, which analyses the level of platelet aggregation. Those patients on prasugrel or ticagrelor who had very low levels of platelet aggregation at 1 month and were randomized to continue con, these two drugs suffered a 33.1% of events, significantly higher than the other three groups. Again, that huge difference was due to a much higher rate of bleeding. Based on the results of the TOPIC trial and other smaller ones, the guidelines introduced the de-escalation with level 2B. VERONICA is a randomized control multi-center trial in 16 centers in Spain. Patients ACS with and without ST elevation discharged on ticagrelor or prasugrel undergo a test of platelet reactivity with the Verify Now test. Those with a result less than or equal to 30 PRU are randomized to continue with these drugs, control arm, or de-escalate to clopidogrel, intervention arm. With an expected rate of the net primary endpoint of ischemia, cardiovascular death, myocardial infarction or stroke, and hemorrhagia BARC. 2 of 22% in the interventional arm and 14% in the control arm, the sample size will be 634 cases. The primary endpoint is the first adverse event of the combined objective of cardiovascular death, non-fatal myocardial infarction, non-fatal stroke or bleeding BARC greater than or equal to 2. In this slide, the visits of the trial are described. The study is being conducted by 17 centers all around the country. Finally, in this slide, the current recruitment is depicted, with 577 randomized patients, which represents 91% of the target. We expect to have finished the phase of recruitment at the end of March 2024, and the results of the trial will be available 12 months later.
Thank you so much. See you in the next Epic Media podcast.